you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? It's a real question. And the answer will dramatically change the actions that you take and how you market yourself online. I'm going to explain how. Let's dive in. The richest person that I personally know is worth over $100 million. She's a very successful entrepreneur. And when she posts on LinkedIn, which by the way, is not all that often, she only gets like 15 likes. Can you believe that? The second richest person that I know, a friend of mine that is worth over $50 million. Do you know that he does not even post on social media at all? Because here's the thing. You don't need to be famous to be rich. And even if you get famous, like social media famous, LinkedIn famous, it does not actually guarantee that you are going to get rich. And I see this a lot on LinkedIn in particular, because I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. And I see people who get thousands of likes. They get hundreds of comments. They have a massive following. They have a huge audience and they are broke. They are not making shit for money because there is no real business underneath it. Like they're busy building their audience, but there's no offer. There's no market. There's no business. There are no employees. Half the time, there aren't even any clients, which is part of how they get LinkedIn famous, because the formula for being LinkedIn famous, here it is: post content every day, make sure it's decent. Like, I mean, it should be, decent content, like something worth engaging with, and then sit on the platform and comment on other creators' stuff for 8 hours a day. I promise you're going to build an audience, right? Like you are going to build a following. You are going to get a lot of engagement. You're going to get a lot of likes. You're going to get a lot of comments. You're going to get a lot of impressions. You will be LinkedIn famous. That guarantees you jack when it comes to money. But here's what it does do. It does give you perceived credibility, because for somebody new, they look at this and go, holy shit, like this guy's getting like 1,000 likes, he's getting 500 comments. Dude must have a huge following, must know exactly what he's doing, and must have a great thriving business, because how on earth can you get millions of impressions every single day and not make money? But when there's no business underneath, when there's no clear market, when there's no clear offer, when you don't have a profit model, like an economic business model that actually works for you, none of those things. Like when you don't have any of that, you can build an audience as large as you want. You're not going to be able to make money. What happens when you build up 1 million impressions a day or a week? You start selling LinkedIn services. It happens all the time. You start selling ghostwriting, you start selling personal branding, you start selling branding in general, you start selling courses, you start selling, how do you get big on LinkedIn? So I took the time, and I invested 8 hours a day engaging with people, getting all this engagement reciprocation back to me. I get to the top of the pyramid and I say, shit, I don't actually have a business. So you know what I'm going to do? I do have all of these people who think I'm LinkedIn famous and know what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell how to get here, which is fine. There's not anything inherently wrong with that, but they don't have much of another choice, because the audience that they've built are really just other creators who are engaging on LinkedIn, right? Like it's not a targeted customer demographic. There's not like an ICP here. It's basically, I commented on a bunch of people, a bunch of other people who are commenting on mine. That's the makeup of my audience. So the only thing that I really can sell effectively at scale at this point is like how to do what I did on LinkedIn, which is interesting, because what does that do? Makes more LinkedIn influencers. Inherently, there's no real product other than the vanity metrics of LinkedIn for a lot of these businesses. And what they're doing is they're selling more people into creating those vanity metrics. And those people get to the top of the pyramid and they look at it and they go, well, shit, I've got the same problem that the last person had. So I'm going to start selling some LinkedIn courses. I'm going to start selling some LinkedIn services. One person keeps getting bigger and then a bunch of other people. And it's just like an MLM, because a whole bunch of people drop off along the way. It's fascinating to watch. But here's the thing. Like I've done plenty of engagement. I've done, plenty of content on LinkedIn. I'm still on LinkedIn. It's my primary channel as of today. I built my business, like the demand generation part of my business is on LinkedIn, largely from content. There was a period of time where getting started, engagement was a big part of my process of trying to get some impressions and trying to get some reach with my target market so that I could sell my actual services, my consulting services to B2B businesses, or my consulting services to MSPs. So it can be a great tool if you are trying to grow a business. But here's the thing. What will happen is if you learn how to build up your LinkedIn presence from somebody who does not have a business, they are going to teach you methods that you cannot use if you run a business. What I mean is, if the only way that you know how to generate demand, the only way that you know how to get eyeballs on your content, the only way that you know how to leverage content to get leads into your business so that you can sell more of your services, and the only way you know how to do that is by sitting on a keyboard for 8 hours a day commenting on shit on LinkedIn, then you are going to get stuck. You are inevitably going to get stuck because the dog is going to catch the car. And if you have services to sell, you are going to get a little bit of demand. You're going to get your first clients. And now you can't engage for 8 hours a day. Not that you really wanted to begin with, but now you can't. So the challenge is, how do you find the advice to help you get clients that is going to work for you when you have a business, right? When you actually start selling things and have to start delivering things and have to start building a team. If the only way that you know how to build a brand is by sitting and commenting for 8 hours a day, you're going to get stuck. It is inevitable, because the very thing that is going to get you where you want is going to be the thing that keeps you from being able to deliver on what it is you were trying to do in the first place. That's why you've got to pick the advice that you take very carefully. And you've got to look beyond the number of likes, the number of comments, the amount of impressions that people are getting. And you've got to look at, are the tactics that they're using going to be effective for me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? Are they going to actually help me build a business? Or are they just going to help me get more likes and comments and impressions? Because if the only thing it's going to do is help you get more likes and comments and impressions, those likes, comments, impressions are going to be coming from a lot of different people, not your target market. And they're going to be engineered with a tactic that you can't use once the business starts actually going. Which is why I ask, do you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? If you want to be famous, there's a formula for that. And it's consistent content and a shitload of engagement. But if you want to get rich, if you want to build a business, then you've got to look at, what is the market that I am targeting? What is the problem that they have? What is the solution that I am selling? And then go purposefully build an audience around that market, engage with that market, and start looking for ways to systematize demand generation on LinkedIn that doesn't require the sweat equity of you sitting and commenting on things for 8 hours a day. Things like automation, things like prospecting, things like hiring a BDR, things like getting VAs, things like running sales plays on people that view your profile. There are a lot of different ways to make money on LinkedIn, but you've got to be careful. If you're only listening to influencers, you're going to get caught up in the vanity game. You're going to end up trying to get famous, and you will get on a treadmill that will be very difficult to get off, because you will no longer have the time to create the content, to do the engagement that you need to sustain the demand that you're now getting. And the last thing you want is like this roller coaster of a marketing engine. You want consistency in your marketing. You want repetition in your marketing. And unless you want to burn out, you've got to look for ways to systematize it. I hope this has been a helpful perspective on how to leverage LinkedIn, or how to use social media, and how to make sure that you are working towards the goal that you want, whether it's to be rich or to be famous. Adios.